Grass-fed scam. Typically, the term grass-fed may evoke images of cattle roaming freely on pasture, mimicking natural behavior. However, in reality, many in the industry confine them to pens and feedlots while providing grass-fed pellets. The moral of the story, develop a relationship with your farmer. If you're comfortable with cows being fed grass-fed pellets in feedlots, then carry on. But at least now you understand that grass-fed doesn't always mean they're grazing on open pastures. How do you feel about this?
Be aware of added water and injected solutions in your meat. In today's meat industry, be cautious when buying from grocery stores. Many companies prioritize profits over health, and lower meat prices could indicate water injection to increase weight and profits. Here's what you need to know. Misleading weight. Injecting water into meat can increase its weight, and consumers may end up paying more for water weight rather than actual meat. This practice is sometimes used to inflate the weight of meat products, leading to a deceptive sale. Nutrient dilution. When water is injected into meat, it can dilute the natural nutrients present in the meat, such as proteins and minerals. This can reduce the overall nutritional value of the meat. Potential for bacterial growth. Injected water can create a more favorable environment for bacterial growth, increasing the risk of foodborne illnesses. Sodium content. Some injected solutions may contain high levels of sodium or other additives. Quality and taste. The injection of water may affect the texture and taste of meat. It can lead to a less flavorful and less satisfying eating experience. The bottom line, shop intentionally, check labels. Cheap meat may compromise your health and expectations. My preference, know your farmer to ensure the quality you seek.
Buyer beware, the truth about grocery store misting, and it may not be just water. Have you ever noticed the misting in the produce section? During a recent visit to Sprouts store in Florida, I was met with a strong chemical odor lingering around the produce as they misted it. It raised a crucial question. What exactly are they spraying on those fruits and veggies? As it turns out, it could be a product called Produce Max. This substance isn't just confined to the misting sprays at select grocery stores, it's even used in pre-cut fruit. It serves various purposes, including misting, crisping, treatment, and washing, but upon closer examination, I discovered that Produce Max, a product of ChemStar, contains ingredients like sodium hypochlorite, commonly known as bleach or liquid bleach. This raises concerns, as while they're using it to mist the produce, they also advise ChemStar customers to avoid inhaling vapor sprays or mists in its undiluted form, precisely what they are subjecting the shoppers to, albeit diluted within the closed store environment, not to mention when consuming it. Also, the fine print absolves them of liability for any problems arising from the product. Notably, Produce Max is utilized by known retailers, including Sprouts, H-E-B, Harris Teeter, Safeway, and more. It may not be the case at every location. Be sure to check with your store. Store-bought milk often comes from sick animals. Dairy farmers opt for pasteurization, eliminating all good and bad bacteria in a desperate attempt to mask unsanitary conditions. Pasteurization is like a lazy band-aid for those cutting corners in the dairy industry. On the other hand, raw milk in its most pure and nutritious form is often carefully made by farmers in clean conditions. They keep its nutritional benefits intact, knowing that pasteurization will remove essential elements like enzymes, probiotics, vitamins, and immunoglobulins. Pasteurization is a band-aid for sloppy, lazy, and inadequate farming practices. Raw dairy farmers committed to quality refuse to take shortcuts. Responsible and well-maintained practices can effectively minimize the risks that come with raw milk while also preserving the most nutritious food. Okay, diving more into ingredients and certification and what to put on the label. So there's a lot of different products out here that are appearing to be bioengineered, right? And so you'll find that on some of the labels, which I went through the grocery store searching and I've seen a lot of them, but also what you will find is a loophole, okay, to get around actually putting it right on the label is something like this. Now this is a QR code, which also includes a nice little phone number to call so that you can take more time to investigate. And what you do is you scan, let's scan the code here, pull it up, and what happens is Swiss Miss pulls up, and as long as they have a spot where you can get more information, and then they have that bioengineered logo on, you can find that these ingredients, or one of them or some of them, were actually bioengineered. So not on the label, which is not cool and not transparent. And again, it's just more trickery. So I'm in the bone broth aisle, and this is just ridiculous. This is why I make my own, or the only other one I will purchase from is North Star Bison, because they just very simple ingredients. This beef bone broth has cane sugar in there as their second ingredient, or third ingredient rather. Why in the heck do you have sugar in broth? Also, here too, looking at this one, oh, it's glass, it looks pretty okay, maybe I'd consume it, but it's seasoned with beef. What does that even mean? What does it mean? I don't know. Balsamic vinegar is fermented grapes and can contain significant amounts of mold toxins, yeast, and fungal byproducts that can rob your body of nutrients. Apart from apple cider vinegar, most vinegars, such as red wine vinegar, malt vinegar, and balsamic vinegar, tend to be the highest in anti-nutrients, including mold toxins, and in the case of balsamic, can be quite high in lead. And some of these labels actually have a warning label that it contains lead. So do I use balsamic vinegar? Absolutely not. But similarly to olive oil, you'll want to source high quality, small batch, and organic if you use it. Be aware of the water you are drinking and bathing in. Water is the most essential nutrient and a huge piece of what you put in your body. Unfortunately, tap water is full of thousands of chemicals and contaminants, as well as dissolved pharmaceuticals. It is simply destroying health and should be avoided. I wouldn't use the fridge filter or Brita either. A single carbon filter is not good enough to remove the contaminants. If you're looking for an alternative filter, I use a countertop reverse osmosis system. This device shows you the TDS in and out after the RO, and it's about 14, which is pretty close to 0. This should do a good job filtering out most of the carcinogenic compounds. Additionally, my water intake comes mostly from fruit and milk, which are loaded with beneficial minerals and vitamins. But wait, there's more. Most assume it's all about the drinking water, but the water that enters through the skin can contain carcinogenic compounds too. Don't forget the filter for your shower as well. Sunglasses are a scam. We're often told to shield ourselves from the sun with sunblock hats and sunglasses. But here's the catch. When UV light hits your eyes, it triggers the production of MSH, a melanocyte stimulating hormone, stimulating melanin production. However, wearing sunglasses delays this signal, potentially increasing the risk of sunburn. Just like skin exposure, controlled sunlight exposure through the eyes can be beneficial. It promotes melanin production and aids in synthesizing vitamin D, naturally enhancing your body's sun protection while absorbing a vital nutrient. So why avoid something that could naturally shield your body from sunburn, only to cover up with sunglasses and slather harsh chemicals on your skin? Make it make sense. I'm not suggesting you stare at the sun for hours, but perhaps gradually reducing your dependence on sunglasses and allowing your eyes to soak in some sunlight could be beneficial. Sunscreen can be one of the worst things that you do for your skin. It is full of toxins, hormonal disruptors, and it will not protect you against the word that starts with a C. Not to mention that sunscreen will block the absorption of UV light and ultimately vitamin D, a very valuable nutrient. So here are 3 ways to avoid sunburn naturally. Eliminate foods and products that are harmful, such as seed oils, processed foods, and skincare products, and traditional sunscreens that have harsh chemicals in them, as well as high amounts of linoleic acid. Incremental sun exposure, aka increased melanin. You can go out in the morning or the early evening and just avoid midday. And if you must do long-term exposure, you can get an umbrella, perhaps you can find clothes or a nice little hat, you can cover yourself up. Or if you really are desperate for sunscreen, get a non-nano zinc oxide sunscreen. And lastly, consume nourishing foods rich in saturated fat and cholesterol, because cholesterol is required to produce vitamin D and lumistrol from the sun, and both protect against sunburn and skin damage. Do you use sunscreen?